Okay, today's daf is daf Lamed Gimel. We were actually cut off on the bottom of daf Lamed Beis Amid Beis, so we're on the about 14 lines from the bottom. Chasidim HaRishonim. Okay, and the Gemara continues. Chasidim HaRishonim, when Cha'achas, we said in the Mishnah that the Chasidim would wait an hour before. So the Gemara asked me, Nahani Mili, Rishum Malevi, Amar Kra, the verse says, Ashrei Yoshri V'Secha, praiseworthy are those who just sit in your house. They sat before they prayed. Remember Rishum Levi said, one who prays, one who has to also wait an hour after praying to contemplate his prayer. Meaning after they've already accepted your face, seen your face, they still sat there in the shul. One of David's has to wait an hour before, after an hour after. Kaidim tefillah minayin. How do we know before? Shneimar, like the verse said, Ashri Yoshvei V'Secha. La'achar tefillah. How do we know after? Because it says minayin dechsim ach tzadikim yoy l'shmecha yashvu yisharim es panecha. Tana Rabbana. The rabbis taught Chasidim HaRishonim. The earlier Chasidim, Hayushayin Sha'achas Mispalin Sha'achas V'Chayzim Richayin Sha'achas. They would contemplate an hour before. They would daven for an hour, and then they would sit for an hour after contemplating their davening. Says the Gemara, 3 times a day, that's 9 hours a day. But Tefillah, in Tefillah, their Torah, how was it guarded? I mean, they had no time to review their learning. And when did they ever work? So the Gemara says, the fact is that they weren't everyday people. They were Chasidim HaRishonim, Chasidim. They were extremely pious people, and they made Tefillah their Iker, and Hashem took care of their learning and their malacha. So we said in the Mishnah, even if a king asks you how you're doing, you shouldn't return the greeting. That's talking about Jewish kings who will understand that you're in the middle of davening. A non-Jewish king, Paisik, you have to stop in the middle. So the Gemara asks, Meismail asks you a question. Okay? Ra current by Kenegdai. One's in the middle of davening, and he actually witnesses something coming towards him. Okay, whether it's a wagon or some sort of animal coming towards him. He shouldn't stop his davening. He should only shorten it and go up. So what do you see? You see that you should shorten it. You don't stop in the middle. So the answer is like kasha. Meaning, if you can stop, you see the king is coming, or this person's coming and he's far away, and you could continue davening and just hurry it up. Do so, but if you can't, then you stop in the middle. There's a story with one pious man. He was davening on the way. One prince came, or one minister of Anasan Shalom, said hello to him. He did not say hello back. So he waited until he finished his praying. After he finished praying, you empty one. It's written in your Torah. Your Torah says, guard yourself, and guard your soul. You have to guard yourself. So, when I said hello to you, why didn't you say hello back? If I would have cut your head off with the sword, who would have claimed your blood from me? Meaning, who would have avenged your death? No one. I'm a man of incredible power, and therefore you should have said hello back. He told him, he goes, good point, but give me a second to appease you with words. So he told him, if you were standing in front of a king, okay, he was a minister, so if you were standing in front of a king, a real king, one of your friends came and he said hi to you. Would you say hi to back? He goes, no, I'm standing in front of the king, I wouldn't. If you did say hello back, what would they have done to you? They would have cut my head off with the sword. So he told this minister, okay, I can tell you a kal v'chomer. If you were standing in front of a king, as you just said, and a king who is today here and tomorrow is in the grave, meaning he's very transient, his malchus, his kingship, still you'd be so afraid you wouldn't say hi back. I'm standing in front of the King of all kings, Hashem, Shuchai v'kayim la'ad u'olmei elamim, who's alive and well and upstanding, upright for ever and ever. Halachas kama kama. Certainly, I'm not going to stop for you. Miyad nispayas oisat tzar v'niftar esachas lebeis l'shalom. This minister, was appeased, meaning he had gotten a sufficient answer, and he went back, and this chassid was allowed to go home in peace. Okay, and we finished the Mishnah. We said afilu nachash koruch alik v'lo yafsik. Even if the snake is wrapped around his ankle, and it's really a sakana, he shouldn't stop. Amar Shishis leishanu ela nachash. That's a snake. Okay, aval akrav paisik, a scorpion, a poisonous scorpion. It'll certainly bite you right away, and therefore you should stop. So the Gemara asks Meisvei, Nafal le'gayvari, as he falls into a lion's den, ein me'idin alav shemes. We don't give witness that he in fact died. Okay, this is in the Yavamis, in the halachas of a man who went missing, and now we want to know if we could permit his wife to remarry. Okay, so if he fell into a lion's den, we don't automatically. But nafal lechafira, if he fell into a pit, malay nechashim akravim, snakes and scorpions, me'idin alav shemes, we assume that he's dead. Okay, so the question is, you see snakes are dangerous. The Gemara says, Shani Hasan Agav Itzatzamaski. Itzatzamaski, because in a pit, they're very cramped together, and the crampedness is what causes them to just start biting. Okay, but if you're just around a snake is around you, hanging out around your ankle, it's not necessarily going to bite you. Rav Yitzchak said, Reish Shvarim Paisik. Once sees oxen, he should stop. They're coming towards him. The Tanur of Rishayim Archikim Yishar Tam Chamishim Ama. Okay, a shar tam, which is scored less than 3 times. The discussion of shar tam and shar muad and other mesachtas of shar muad. Kamalei of shar muad is already one who is verified as a dangerous ox. Kamalei if you make sure you're not even within an eye's reach of him, eye distance of him. Tana Mishmei Rav Meir Reish Tura B'Dekula, when the head of the ox is in his basket, his eating basket. Tzalik le'igra, go up to the roof, v'shani darga mitatech, and mitosach, and throw down the ladder. Meaning, you better run, because at that point he's very feisty, and he immediately. Shmuel says that's talking about Bashar Shachar, specifically a black ox over Yom Nisan, the days of Nisan, the spring, because the devil himself his horns, meaning he's really dangerous. There was a story in a place. This comes in and we're talking about dangerous animals. Just to clarify, so the story in one place, there was an arud. Rashi says an arud is some sort of a snake, okay, that some sort of wild, some defined as a wild donkey, some sort of hybrid of a very scary animal, and it was going around and hurting people, biting people. So they came and they told Rav Chanina ben Dosa, the great Rav Chanina ben Dosa, we said earlier, Erev Shabbos, right, the great Rav Chanina ben Dosa. And Amar Lam, he told them, show me where his hole is. They showed him his hole. He put his ankle on his heel on the mouth of the hole. Yatso, this animal came out, but Ashko, this Arid came out and bit him. And instead of Rav Chanina ben Dosa getting hurt, the Arid itself actually died. So not like Sefi took it and put it on his shoulders. He brought it to Beis Medrash, and he told them, Re'ubani, see my children. Ain't ha'arid memes. It's not the arid that's killing people. Halachet memes, it's the sin. And Ba'isha Sha'amru, that time they said, woe is to man who runs into one of these arids, wild snakes. And woe to the arid, Shapag Rav Chanina ben Dosa, who met Rav Chanina ben Dosa. Okay, so the Gemara completes itself there. And now we continue on within the halachas of tefillah and what constitutes things that have to be said that are not normally said if they're said if we have to go back to the beginning of tefillah. So we said maskirin gavuras kashamim b'tchias hamezim. We mention the strength of the rain, right? We say mashif haruach u'merid hageshem and b'tchias hamezim in the second bracha of tchias hamezim. V'she'ela, and we ask for rain, Brachos Hashanim, in the Brachos Hashanim. Havdalah, we mentioned Havdalah on Saturday night. B'chayin hadas, and Rekiva Imer Amra bracha revius b'fnei. We say a fourth bracha of itself. Okay, we don't add it within Atachayin. We actually say its own bracha. But Lazar Imer Bahida, we add it into Modin. Okay, so The Gemara is going to get into discussion about these halachas. Okay, now the Gemara says, Maskirin gevuras geshamim. We mentioned gevuras geshamim. My time. What's the reason? Rav Yosef, since rain is like sheshakula tchias hamesim, it's equal, comparable to tchias hamesim. It sustains life. It revives the dead, the people are almost dead. Gives life rain. Therefore, it's in the bracha of tchias hamesim, of the revival of the dead. V'she'ela b'brachas hashanim, my time, Rav Yosef mitoich shi parnasa, since it talks about parnasa, lefich kavu b'brachas parnasa, because we need rain for livelihood, right, for the fields, and for the to be able to grow our fields, and therefore it's in the bracha of parnasa. Havdalah, why do we say Havdalah b'chein hadas? My time, Rav Yosef mitoich shi chachma kavu b'brachas chachma, since it takes a certain amount of wisdom to discern between holy and unholy, right, which is basically the bracha of Atachayin Tanu. Therefore, we stick it into Chayin Hadas. For Rabban Nami, the Rabbi said, since it's the beginning of a new week, it's the bracha of Hamavdim and Kodesh L'Chol, L'ficha Kavua b'Brachas Chol, they added it into the first bracha of the Chol. Rami says, Gedela Deya, great is Deya, the concept of real wisdom. Shnasim Tchilas Bracha Shachol, put at the beginning of all of our blessings, we ask Hashem to give us this wisdom and this insight, discernment. He says, great is day that it was put between two oisias, meaning two references of Hashem's name. Shenemar, the pasuk says, Kel Deut Hashem. Hashem is a God, a wise God. So Kel Deut Hashem. Deut is surrounded by Kel and Hashem. The Chol Mishaim by day, and anyone who doesn't have this Deya, this ability to discern, Asr Larachem Elav, is forbidden to have mercy on him. Shnemar Ki Loi Am Binoisu, they're not a nation of insight, of wisdom. Al Kain Lo Yerachmenu, I say therefore his maker will not have mercy on him. Amar of Elazar, Gadol Mikdash, great is the Beis Hamikdash, Nasim Mishnei Osius, because between the two Osius of Hashem's name. Shnemar Pa'alta Hashem Mikdash Hashem, so again we see the name Hashem surrounds the Mikdash. Remember of Elazar, Kol Adam Sheish B'Deya, anyone who has Deya, Kilo Nivne Beis Hamikdash B'Yamav, it's as if he built the Beit Hamikdash in his days. Nas Nivne Beis Hamikdash B'Yamav. Why? Because Deya Nasta B'Shnei Ben Shnei Osius and Mikdash Nasta B'Shnei Osius. Both these words have the two of the uniqueness that Hashem's name surrounds them. So Maskal Ravacha Karchina, Ravacha from Karchina said, Elamiata. Great is revenge, vengeance. Shnasta B'Shnei Osius also Shnemar Kel Nekamas Hashem. Again, the name of Hashem, so Hashem reference to Hashem is surrounding Nekama. Amalei in, you're right, B'Milsa, in its time, in its manner, Mia Gedalihi, in this context, it is a great thing. Okay, that means vengeance is right in the proper place. That's what Ula said. Shtei Nekamas Halalu Lama. There's two nekamas. What are they for? Achas l'tova v'achas l'ra. L'tova d'chsev ha'fiyah mihar paran. Hashem will appear from Har Paran to avenge the enemies of the Jewish people. L'ra d'chsev kel nekamas Hashem, kel nekamas ha'fiyah. The vengeance of God, God's vengeance appears. Okay. We said in the Mishnah, Rabbi Akiva Amr Bracha Revius for Pnei says a fourth bracha by itself. Amalei Rav Shimon Bar Abba Rav Yochanan Mechti. Let us see. Anshe Knesset Hagedolah, the people of the Knesset Hagedolah, the great assembly which lived in the time the first, beginning the second Beis Hamikdash. Tignu Lehem Yisrael, they instituted for the Jewish people brachos v'tfilos. Okay, kedushas v'havdalos. They instituted all the blessings and the prayers that we say, and the kedushas and the havdalas that we say. So next rabbanon heicha tikun. Why are we having an argument in our Mishnah exactly where one should say the bracha of Atachayin Tanu, the bracha of Havdalah in the Tefillah after on Motzei Shabbos? Why don't we just see what they did? It's continuous, as we explained earlier from Tosfos. It's continuous, so they should have a Kabbalah. So the Gemara says, Amar le b'tchila kavu b'tefillah. No, it's a little complicated because originally they instituted that people should say the Havdalah in Tefillah. What happened? Hashiru, the Jewish people became wealthy, so kavu alakais, they instituted like we say kiddush at the beginning of Friday night, right, which is daraisa. So they instituted the concept of alakais, where one says it over a cup of wine, and therefore they started saying it in its own bracha outside of Havdalah. Okay, so what happened is the Jewish people became poor again. So chazru v'kavu b'tefillah, they again instituted that it should be in tefillah. And when they did it the last time, they said hamavda b'tefillah sarach sheyavda alakos. Really, one who doesn't tefillah also has to do it alakos if they can. So therefore, it became confusing. And therefore, we have these different girsos of what the halacha is. Rachi bar Abba said, Rabbi Yochanan, anshekas l'gadol tiknu l'Yisrael brachos v'tefillas kedushas v'havdalos. Okay? Betchila kavu betfila. Betchila in the beginning they institute Havdalah in the prayer, and then Hashir they became wealthy, kavu al akais, and Chazar Be'adu they became poor again, kavu betfila. They put it in for the Jewish people to not have to have wine because they're poor and they couldn't afford wine, to put it back in tefillah. V'heim amru hamavdu betfila tzarich sheyavdil alakos. One is mavdil betfila has to say it alakos. Itmarnami we have another supporting memra saying Rabba and Yosef both of them said hamavdu betfila tzarich sheyavdil alakos. Okay, Amar Rava, and I'll ask you a question from another memra. Tav one who forgot to mention Mashav Ruach in the bracha of Tchias HaMesim, or she'elo Brachos Hashanim, Machzir Nasai, we make him go back. V'havdalah b'chayin hadas in Machzir Nasai. Why do we make one go back? Because okay, because he couldn't say it on Alakais. Okay. So here it seems to be a proof, says Rava, that because he could say it on a kais, not that he has to say it on a kais. How come you're saying that he has to say it on a kais if he already said it in davening? So the Gemara answers, don't say because he could, because he's gonna. Because in fact, that's the halacha, that even though we're mavdil with tefillah, we still have to be mavdil ala kais. Itmer nami, supporting proof, Amar Rabbi Yom Bar Yefes, Shal Rabbi Yossi is Rabbi Yochanan Betzidan. Rabbi Yossi asked Rabbi Yochanan Betzidan. V'Amrila, some say Rabbi Shimon Yaakov asked from Tzur, asked Rabbi Yochanan. V'Anosh B'Shmais, and I heard, Hamavdil B'Tefillah, one who says the bracha of Havdalah in Tefillah, Tzarech Sheyavdil ala kais, still has to do it ala kais. They asked, does he have to do it ala kais or not? V'Amar Alei, they told him, Tzarech Sheyavdil ala kais. He has to. So they want to ask Hibaylu, Hamavdil ala kais. What about one does it ala kais? Ma'osh Yavdil B'Tefillah. It's the responsibility today when we do Havdalah on a cup. Do we have to do it in the davening? So the Gemara says, Amar Rav Nachman Yitzchak, Kal v'chaymer mitfila. We have a Kal v'chaymer from tefillah. Uma tefillah to ikr takanti. Originally, like we said, the ikr takana was in tefillah. Amri, they still said Hamavdil b'tefillah tzarech sheyavdil alakos. One who says in tefillah still has to do alakos. Hamavdil alakos, one who does it on the kais, which is talav ikr takanti. It's not the original institution, not the main institution, so to speak. Like kol shekin, you would have to do it in tefillah. That's what his deduction was. Okay, so Tani Rav Acha Aricha. Rav Acha Aricha said, Kamed Rav Chanina, Hamavdil b'tefillah, one who doesn't have Havdalah in tefillah, Meshubach Yosem Mimish Yavdil ala kais, is greater than one who does it ala kais. V'im hivdil b'zu b'zu, if he does it in both, Yinuchal brachas al Roshi, he'll get brachas on his head. Okay, so he'll be poured blessings on him from heaven. So the Gemara says, Haguf Akasha, that doesn't make sense. Amr, you said Hamavdil b'tefillah. One who does it in tefillah is meshubach yoser mishi avdel akos, is greater than, is more praiseworthy than the one who does it al akos. Alma tefillah. You see that tefillah alone, saying it in the prayer of Ma'ariv, is enough. Okay. Then you go back and say, he said, you get blessings if you do both. Like, what the heck, you did both, great. How could that be? Says the Gemara 4 lines from the bottom, Alam Gimel and Aleph. The Kevin Denafikle Bechada, once you did it in one, you pater, you already exempt yourself. It's a bracha she'en tzricha, which is a very grave thing. You're saying Hashem's name in vain. Some says Rish Lakish, whoever says a bracha that's not needed is over mishum leisisa, is actually transgresses the love of like leisisa shem Hashem Lashem. You shouldn't say Hashem's name in vain. So the Gemara says like this: you should read it like this. If he did it in one Havdalah, he did it in the kais and not in the tefillah, or in the tefillah and not in the kais, he should have blessings on his head. Okay? Rav Chisda asked Rav Sheshes, Ta ubezu ubezu, mahu. Okay? What if you made a mistake in both of them? You didn't do it in either of them. He told him, Ta ubezu ubezu. If you did it in both, if you didn't do it in both of them, the should go back to the beginning. Okay? So what's the halacha? Amalei ki kiddush, just like kiddush. Ma kiddush afagav makadosh b'tzalusa. Even though we say the brachas of kiddush really in the Friday night davening, still when we go home, we kind of shakasa, we do it on the cup. Hafavdelanani afagav d'mav b'tzalusa, ma'avdil akasa should be me'ain. The yitziyah should be in the kanisa, and just like when we go into Shabbos, we do it in a certain fashion. Even though we're yotze really from the kiddush, the remembrance of Shabbos in the davening, of Friday night davening, still we do a kais. So too when it comes to Havdalah. Okay? And then the final shita was Rabbi Lezer said, Bahaydah, that we should do it in Maidim. Okay? The Gemara says Rav Zera have a rachiv chamra. Rav Zera was riding a donkey, and have a kashak of Azar Bar Avin Basri. Bar Avin was walking behind him. Amar lady asked him, "Vadai damrisa mishmeid Rav Yochanan. Is it true that they say in the name of Rav Yochanan, halacha k'Rav Eliezer b'yomtiv shecholias achar Shabbos? Now the halacha is like Rav Eliezer on yomtiv shecholias Shabbos. Now the din of yomtiv shecholias achar Shabbos is that. Now we're going into Yom Tiv, so we don't have the Atachin in Tefillah. So there's a din like Eliezer that you say it in Modim. Amralei told him in halacha. That's the halacha. So now there's a whole discussion here, and the gears are changing. How they take out the ein, but he said halacha. That is the halacha. Okay. So the Gemara says michlal the pligi. That seems to the inference is that they argue. The Gemara says v'loi pligi. What do you mean? They don't argue. But pligi Rabbanan. The Rabbanan do argue. The Rabbanan say you say its own bracha. So the Gemara says no. Aim to pligi Rabbanan b'shayim hashana. The Rabbanan who argue and say that you kolel, your nichlal, the bracha of Atachin Atanu into the Atachin, that is b'shayim hashana the rest of the year. But b'yom tiv shechol yisachar Shabbos, Shabbos that goes immediately into Yom Tiv, me pligi, do they argue? So the Gemara says, what do you mean? But Rabbi Akiva himself argues and says it's his own bracha in the fourth bracha. So the Gemara says, wait, you can't bring Rabbi Akiva into this. Do we do like Rabbi Akiva at all, ever? That we're going to start talking and saying, oh, what about Rabbi Akiva? We never do like Rabbi Akiva. So the Gemara says, my time left, Rabbi Akiva. Why? The whole year do we not do like Rabbi Akiva, make its own fourth bracha for Atachin Tanu, right? For the Havdalah, you know why we don't do like Rabbi Akiva the whole year? Because the Tamni started Tikkun Tishus Tikkun. There's only 18 brachas since the Tikkun, and not 19, so you can't add in a bracha. But so Hachanami over here, Shev Tikkun, Tami Loy Tikkun. We know that there's 7 blessings in that happening, so 7 they were Misaka, not 8. Amalei Lav Halacha Itmar. Matin Itmar. He didn't say halacha. Okay, now the Gemara is going to explain what the difference between halacha versus matin. Okay, halacha means that we teach it in the shir. Halacha is we transmit this halacha to our students, and this is the halacha. This is the halachic reality, and this is the din. This is what we do. Okay, this is the psak. So he said, no, we don't do halacha, ela matin. Okay, now. Matin means that if asked, here we'll see, the Gemara is going to say, Itmar, de Itmar Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi, Amar Mishum Rabbeinu, halacha, v'amila matin. Some say matin. Okay, Rav Yochanan Amar modim, which means we admit, and Rav Chibar Rav Amar nirin. We allow it to be seen. Okay, we'll see Rashi for the difference in a minute. Amar Rav Zera Nakad Rav Chibar Rabba Yadcha. Take that in your hand. Take the Girsa Rav Chibar Rabba, who says nirin. Okay, to die begomer shmais mi pum demara shapir. He always was very medayik and made sure to study the words from his rabbi exactly, precisely as they were said, like Rechava. Okay, like Rechava from Pumbedisa. Okay, who's Rechava from Pumbedisa? Rechava Yehuda. He said Har Habayis Stav Kafel Haya. It was a double bench. V'haya Stav Lefnim min Stav. It was a stav within a stav. This is talking about the beams outside that surround the Beis Hamikdash. That was his quote. So we see that he called it a stav, the Mepharshim say, because usually there's other names for it that are more common, and he used the precise language that his Rebbe did. Okay. So the Rashi over here says on the right, halacha, mandiyamar halacha means darshin labe pirkin. We teach it in the shir, and that's the halacha. Or mandiyamar matin means medrash loy darshin barabim. We don't teach it to our students in public. That is that we don't teach it in public, but we tell privately. If people ask us halacha, we tell them. Nirin means we don't even paskin. We don't make him go back. Okay, and nirin means that even if he did one way or the other, we don't say halacha. It's totally acceptable either way. Okay, so that's what the Gemara says, and then the Gemara completes and says, the Gemara says, Rav Yosef, Amar Rav Yosef, I know lo hayadana v'lo hayadana. I don't know this, I don't know that. Evel and Rav and Shmuel yadana. I know Rav and Shmuel. The Tiknulan Migarnisa beBavel. They were masakin. Okay, a pearl in Babel, a pearl in Babylon. And what was that? They instituted a special bracha to be said on Motzei Shabbos that goes into Yom Tiv. Hashem, you should let us know the righteousness of your justice. You should teach us your will, and you should inherit for us. You should inherit to us. Right, these times of joyous times. Kedusha Shabbos. V'kaven moya b'chagigas haregel bein kedusha Shabbos kedusha Yom Tov hivdalta v'yem hashvi mishesh shemei hamayis kidashta hivdalta v'kidashas amchi Yisrael v'kedusha secha, and then they would go on and v'titei lanu. So this was the pearl. This was the beautiful pearl or stone that they instituted to say that they sort of nichlal the same way we're do atachan antanu on Friday night. Okay, so that's where the Gemara is. Then the Mishnah continues and says, one who says, "Alekan tzipor," your mercy reaches. When we know the concept of shluach haken, one has to send away the mother bird before taking the children. So if one says, "Hashem, you're so merciful to the kan tzipor," the bird that you send her away before taking her young. A person says, "You know, Hashem, you should be remembered for all the good that you do." Or moedim, he says moedim and he says moedim twice. Mishnah said all three of these things. We tell him to be quiet. He's down for the shliach as a shliach tzibor. We tell him to be quiet. So the Gemara says bishlama moedim. He says moedim twice. Mishnah says mishum demechzik shtei rishuyos. It looks like he's bowing. He's saying thank you to two different gods. And he says, you know what? For all the good you do, your name should be mentioned. That also nami is a problem because mashma atayiv. That you only praise Hashem for the good He does and not for the bad. It's not, and we know we have a mission that says we have to thank Hashem for the good as we thank Him on the bad. Just as we thank Him on the good, we have to thank Him on the bad. What's wrong with saying that your mercy reaches out to the kan tzipor, right, to the mother's nest? So the Gemara says, "Pligi b'trei Amorai b'Rava." In Eretz Yisrael, there was a argument between two of the Amoraim there, Rabbi Yossi bar Rava and Rabbi Yossi bar Zvida. Okay, what was the argument? Number one says, because you're putting jealousy by saying that Hashem has special attribute of mercy when it comes to the little birdie. That's putting jealousy amongst the other animals. Okay. And when the other one, because you're making the attributes of Hashem rachamim, that the reason why we do things is because Hashem has mercy, and the reason Hashem does things is He has His own way. Obviously, His Rabbis Machshavas B'Levish B'Atzas Hashem Yisrael. Hashem is far smarter than us, and our puny, finite minds don't even have a chance of understanding Him in His infinite wisdom, and therefore it's only Gezeres. Okay, says the Gemara, Hu Denachas Kamei Rabba. This one went down, and we said the reference of going down was going down to be the Shliach Tzibor, to lead the congregation in prayer. V'amar, and he added into the tefillah, Ata chasdal kan tzipor. You have mercy on the little bird. Ata chus v'rachem eleni. You should have mercy on us. And Amar Rabba said quite cynically, Kama yoda haitzurma rabbanon l'tzuli l'more. Hey, this guy seems to really know how to praise Hashem. And Amar Abaye didn't get it. And Abaye said, I'm mishtak, and I said, it's not. You told us, so you tell him to shut up. So the Gemara says, he actually meant it not sarcastically. He was doing it as to sharpen Abaye, the concept of the teacher, to saying a wrong halacha to see if I was paying attention. Okay? This one was praying before Chanina. And Amar, he said, we said in the beginning of Tefillah, Hakel HaGadol HaGibar, and he said, Hakel HaGadol HaGibar, V'hanoira V'ha'adir V'ha'ozuz, V'ha'yirui Ha'chazak V'ha'ametz, V'ha'nechbad. He added 7 different languages of greatness to Hashem's title. So Himtin Le'ach is the Sayim. He finished when he finished. And Kisayim, when he finished, Amar he told him, Samdu L'kulo Shvachin Amarach. Have you finished praising Hashem with all the praises you can? Obviously not. So Lamali Kulehai, why did you say so many? Anan, Hani Tlas Tamrini, these 3 that we do say, Gadol Gibar Vanoira, right? Ilav Damrinu Moshe Rabbeinu, if it wasn't that Moshe Rabbeinu who said them in the Barais and the Torah, also Anshekenas Gadola and the Great Assembly came to Sekininu B'Tfilah and they established in the Tfilah, we wouldn't even have said those. And you're saying so many. Right? We keep going. Mashal Melech Basar B'Dam is like a king of flesh and blood. Shiu Lefan of Elef Alofim Dinrei Zahav. He has thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of golden coins. And they start praising about how great his silver is. What do you mean? He has gold coins. It's the same concept of Hashem. The idea, the understanding that the commentators explain is that Hashem is so great that it's way beyond, if we can't possibly thank Hashem and express Hashem's greatness. So the Mepharshim explain that by every time you try to describe something, you're saying I'm a little closer to the picture of describing. So the more we try to describe Hashem, we're in fact minimizing it because we're saying just wait a minute, I'm getting closer to the picture, closer to the picture, closer to the picture, and really we're infinitely far away from the true picture of Hashem's greatness. Rav Chanina says, "Akol b'nei shamayim." Everything is in the hand of heaven, chutz mi'ir shamayim, except for fear of heaven. Shenemar ve'at Yisrael ma'Hashem alakecha shalom. What does Hashem? Now you Jewish people, what does Hashem ask you? What does He ask from you? Kim liyira, only to fear you. So you see, fear is the only thing. The Gemara says, wait a minute. Atu yir shamayim miltas miltas. Fear of heaven is such a small thing. You know that's such a simple thing. Hashem only has in His storehouse, in His private safe. That's where He keeps His storage of fear of heaven. Shenema Yiris Hashem, right. That's Hashem's storage. So it's a pretty valuable thing. It's not something that's so common. So the Gemara says, and Lagavi Moshe Milsa Zutrasi. It's like Moshe, for him to fear God was such a simple thing. He's like, what does God want from you? Only to fear Him. To Amar of Chanina, Mashal, the famous Mashal, Adam Shmevakshim Men Klei Gadol V'Yeshlei. If you ask someone to borrow his car and he has the car, then he'll lend you his car. But Daima Love Klikun, because it's just his car. He has another one, it's just my car. But Ve'Ain if he doesn't have a car, Daima Love Klikun, he goes, well, my car, I wish I had a car. I don't have a car, right? If I had a car, wow, think of how life would be different, So the concept is, Moshe Rabbeinu was able to say, what's your Shemayim? You guys should have it, of course. But that's for him to say because he had it. But for us, we're common folk, it's not such a sahi, it's not such a milsa sahi, and it's actually something worth striving towards. Okay, so we'll take it from here tomorrow.